Hey guys, Youngblood with you, and we got an update to the roadmap a little bit ago as far as the development on Star Citizen. We got 3.6 that actually hit the menu. That being said, I think that means that we got quite a few changes to 3.3, 3.4, 3.5, and I think I want to run through those kind of in that order first, leading up to 3.6. And, you know, some of this is going to be a little bit of a bummer, but let's go ahead and start with changes to 3.3. We're expecting to get some new armor in the game, which is the Virgil True Defense Pro armor. We also get a new NPC coming along whose name is Clovis Darneely, which is a pretty good name. I like that. He's supposed to be running the reclamation and disposal business, which, you know, pretty much indicates that we're getting somebody in there for salvage at some point, even though salvage is actually slated a little bit later. He's supposed to be a sharp-dressed dude, which is an interesting kind of, I guess, character when you consider that this is generally I don't know, like a working man's type of career. You know, it's like a dirty and grimy. It doesn't really carry a lot of prestige with it. So with as fancy as he actually is, there's some indication there that he may actually be present in this role almost as a punishment for something else. Now, as far as the gameplay moves, if you remember, 3.3 was going to be one of the kind of quote-unquote Jesus patches. Well, we're actually seeing salvage moving to 3.5, repair moving to 3.5 and 3.6, fuel moved to 3.5, and service beacons being moved to 3.4 and 3.6. So, yeah, the Jesus patch no more. As far as gameplay updates go, the scramble race missions that were talked about on Calling All Deads a while back is still present. That's the one where you've got the moving checkpoints. You're able to do combat-ready missions, so there's going to be an interesting balance between what's better off, you know, a pure racing ship or something like a Saber, you know, maybe something big and heavy. It doesn't really matter what you bring. You just need to kind of figure out how that's all going to work. Ship system degradation still scheduled. That's going to be your components wear and tear and associated failures. We got some improvements to retrieval and delivery missions, which is going to be new data sets that are going to allow for more dynamic drop-off locations based on the items and their starting point. Also, pure delivery missions are going to start to use some lockers, which is going to allow the admin office employee to actually do other deliveries. Fps Combat Missions, which basically means that they're allowing you to do some firefights with NPCs, not only on ground, but in ships. So I don't know how much of that's going to actually be like ship boarding. I think there's some to be determined there. But I think it's going to be pretty easy to implement firefights with NPCs on the ground and should add a lot of kind of versatility into these missions that we're doing and really make playing as a team a little bit more fun. We already have mining in place today, but what they're doing is focusing in on asteroid mining, which is going to be adding in systems to allow you to extract minerals from asteroids, which includes entire asteroids like rocks that you see on the surface and potentially even some surface mining of these asteroids as well. We get planetary mining improvements, which is primarily going to be upgrading the surface mining experience and getting better UI and functionality, which is great because it's not perfect today, especially just from a visibility stance. Ping and scanning are going to be increased range, so you can go a little bit further, as well as kind of a refactor on some of the behavior that you see. Flaring up different signature types, being a little bit more visible, and as far as what you're actually picking up on your scans. And then, you know, it'll try and give you a little bit more information when you scan a vehicle as far as what's actually on board from components and potentially cargo. Transit systems, this is really about transferring between doors, elevators, and airlocks and making that all a little bit smoother. In the, I guess, ROM side of things, rec rentals, you're going to have the ability to rent ships, items, and weapons all from the main menu of the game. Keep in mind anything that you rent is only going to be available in Arena Commander and Star Marine. Group system is going to get some more improvements. New Mobi-Glass and Visor chat system features are going to be added. As well as removing some of the legacy group system interface that's kind of clunky and just layered over the new improvements that are already there. Manned and remote turret improvements are getting some quality of life improvements, especially for input controls and kind of toggling between modes. They're implementing no-fly zones, basically just as it sounds, you know, places around planets and stuff where you can't actually fly. It's going to be done for logical reasons and enhanced intrigue, so ideally allowing you to land, take a rover over there or whatever, basically providing value to the ground vehicles. As far as the reasons in-game why that's going to happen, maybe it's weather, maybe it's magnetic fields, who knows. But hopefully there's something a little bit more of substance there, so it's not just some random place where you can't fly your ship and you get warning as you're going into it and your computer is telling you why, you know, something along those lines. Item kiosk shopping improvements are coming in as well, so general improvements to the overall experience. There are some AI revamps that are still planned, but 2 of the existing items were actually broken into 4 separate ones, so nothing really fell back to another patch. It's just kind of broken down into more granular tasks. In the location category, small rest stops, Lorville, Hurston Moons, and Hurston Proper are all still planned for 3.3. If I'm a betting man, I'm guessing at least one of those isn't going to make an appearance, but we'll see. Core technology from 3.3, well, cloud technology, that's falling all the way back to 3.6, so that's a huge fallback. However, things that are still scheduled and progressing for 3.3 include VoIP, which is the face-over IP, network bind calling, network entity streaming, object container streaming, weapon system refactor, performance optimization, and environmental blending shader. Of those, the VoIP is the one that I'm the most surprised is still on schedule, especially considering, to my knowledge, that camera that they're talking about that's going to be utilized for that purpose is not around. So I'm counting on that one falling back, not only just because I'm surprised the technology is able to progress, but and in line with the fact that nobody has the hardware that's really required. But who knows, maybe they're just developing the actual core tech and they'll open it up to players later. Moving on to 3.4, things that I have not already mentioned, land claims and all the features that are associated with claims as far as like prospecting and buying and filing and all that kind of stuff. All of those are again falling back to 3.6. The service beacon updates for 3.4 are really just going to be about general improvements in escort beacons. Some other ones are actually going to be scooting out to later dates. Server meshing is moving to 3.6. And everything else that was on the roadmap for 3.4 is staying the same for now. But as we get a more finalized roadmap for 3.3, I would guess that we're going to see some of those updates take place there. Anything for 3.5 that I've not already mentioned, basically everything that was slated for locations, quite a bit of gameplay, and AI were all moved to 3.6 as well. In the gameplay, it is taking in salvage, refuel, and repair. Those were all things that were going to be part of 3.3. But the other ones that were present for 3.5 before are now in 3.6. Locations moving, refineries and com array reworks, those are going to 3.6. And as far as the AI, the combat styles both on foot and in flight, those are moving to 3.6 as well. Which you can kind of tell 3.6 is probably now our new Jesus patch if we're going to still use that vernacular. Although I guess his stability and I guess likelihood of returning in 3.6 is obviously going to be in play because we see features continuing to slide back. Things that I haven't mentioned in 3.6, I guess the thing to realize about 3.6, there's nothing new that hasn't already been listed somewhere else before. Everything in 3.6 is just a shuffle from what was existing in 3.3, 3.4, 3.5. It's just being pushed back. So gameplay that was moved from 3.5 that I didn't mention just a minute ago includes liquid and gas exploration, expanded cargo, long-range scanning, and data running. As well as we're seeing the repair bot moving from 3.3 all the way back to 3.6 as well, even though we're supposed to be getting repair a little bit sooner than that in 3.5. So, yeah, there you have it. I wanted to make that as brief as possible. That's kind of the breakdown of what's actually going to be coming. Again, it's always a bummer to see features slip. Keep in mind, all of these things are going to flux. So if you see something on 3.5, try not to get your hopes too far up right now because chances are something is going to get knocked back, which is going to push something else back, and you kind of get the dominoes falling. Eventually, I think this is going to get a little bit more streamlined and a little bit more accurate. But again, we've kind of seen this movie before, so it's hard to really know what to expect in the later patches. But it at least lets you kind of see how they're prioritizing things. Although when things move from 3.3 to 3.6, it makes you kind of say maybe they're not sure where they're spending their time and efforts, and priorities are going to shift at any given point. So if you have questions about any of that, please let me know. Otherwise, stay tuned for a lot more coming soon. Have yourselves a wonderful day, and take care.